development perspective. So that's why we thought we would have these back-to-back sessions. And then after hearing from the presenters, have a much more open plenary style discussion with lots of time to talk about it as a whole. So not just the countries that you just heard of in this session, but for the set of countries together. So we're going to first start with Dr. Anujithanakul from Thailand, Kiatnakin Bank from Thailand, to present the Thailand model.
Good morning, everyone. I have about 10 minutes to tell you all about our 2 years journey into what we call digital ID. But before I start, I would like to say that when I say digital ID for Thailand, this may be a misnomer, maybe different from many people when they say digital ID, because we already have what you call digital ID for so long, as long as I can remember, because we have registered from birth, and we have national ID card with biometrics since I was a child, and so, but even with that, we still have a lot of challenges when we try to get our economy to develop into digital economy, and we found that we have a missing foundation, we missing infrastructure, we call. So we came up with a project that we call this Thailand Digital ID, and we got started about 2 years ago. Actually, since the government trying to promote digital economy, and everybody got excited, every sectors, private and public sector, trying to do so many things online, and they found that they got stuck, because with everything in place, they cannot complete everything totally in a non-face-to-face fashion, totally online. They still have some missing piece, and a lot of this organization came to me and start complaining, hey, we are trying to do so many things, and all these efforts are actually duplicating. So what I did was that I gather all these organizations to work together, the hundreds of organizations to work together, and establishing a task force and effort, and then get the government involved, and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Digital Economy set up a digital ID committee in October 2017, 2 years ago, exactly almost 2 years ago. And we were a bunch of group of people coming from all this private and public sector come together, work every week, every day as an intense working team, basically volunteers. And we along the way got through a lot of have to circumvent a lot of the problems and pass through a lot of obstacles, and with the time frame that you see on the screen, start by establishing all the terms so that people talking about the same thing with the same meaning. That's, I think, probably take a lot of time. I mean, that you don't underestimate that people meaning when they use the same term, they mean different things, and it is a big obstacle that you have to pass. And first, we start with establishing a standard of what we call a level of assurance and all the design, technical design, and then the actual platform was built in an open source fashion. We have about 300 volunteers, programmers from a lot of organizations who come together and help building the platform, and we got it live in December 2018, so that the organizations can test it and learning about how they're gonna go about using the digital ID. But not until February this year that we can get all the necessary regulation laws amended and passed through the parliament and it was actually published on the Royal Gazette just recently as May this year. So it takes a long time, to work with lawyers and programmers. The lawyers are actually more difficult to work with than programmers. And an official launch of the NDIDs, that's what we call it, is actually just recent as July this year. And we expect that the first batch of pilot cases, the first group is going to be on the ecosystem would be what we call the IDPs, the identity providers, and they are mostly the banks. And they will be on get out of the central bank's sandbox within November this year. And by the end of this year, there are about 100, I think about 150 organizations who will be on board within this year. Okay, that includes both public and private sectors, the banks, the security companies, the insurance companies, and many government agencies. That's gonna be on the ecosystem. Let me tell you a little bit about how the committee was set up. So it's a joint effort of the people in the whole country. So a lot of organizations, the Federated of Industries, the Chamber of Commerce, Banker Associations, all the associations coming together. They put in money, set up an organization, a company, which we call NDID, and raise fund of about 350 million baht. In today's worth, it would be about 12 million US dollars as the capital to run the company. But actually, the development doesn't cost that much because we get volunteers, programmers to work on it. And the committee comprised of representatives from the business side, as well as the regulators, the Bank of Thailand, the Security Exchange Commission, and all the regulators involved, and as well as the government agencies. And there are 3 subcommittees, one to work on the technical part or the design and such, and the second subcommittee works on the legal side of it, because we have to do a lot of legal amendment and because the lawyer was so good as putting a lot of obstacles before we even think of the project. So we have to amend a lot of the past laws to get this done, as well as another group of subcommittee to think about the pilot cases and the actual transaction is going to be utilize this system. Because when you get to the real actual pilot cases, not only the law that has to be amended, some of the regulations from this regulator, for example, the bank has to get involved. So the Bank of Thailand has to allow them to do certain things which they didn't have an idea, they didn't have any way to regulate it, or some of the old regulation may prevent the banks from doing certain things. So all the pilot cases will lead to a lot of changes, and mostly a new set of expansion of range of business that the regulator would allow this participant to perform. That's usually not their regular roles. So this is how we set up. And I want to bring you back a little one step. That Thailand actually has had the citizen ID for so many years. We register 70 million people from birth. So it's the same process as getting birth certificate. So from the beginning, everybody has an ID. I have an ID from the beginning. And when a child got to 7 years of age, and not no later than 15 years, then that person should get a card, a citizen card, which looks like this. It has a chip, and you got to take a picture and register your fingerprints, everything, biometrics get into the system, the server, and all the information also kept into the smart card chip, which you can use this ID card to authenticate, not authenticate, to verify a person in an offline fashion. So if you have a card reader with a fingerprint reader, you can check against the card whether that person is actually who or she claimed to be. And we also have other things. So there's a code in the back, to use this as in the same fashion as the credit card not present case. So everything is there, even a PIN code associated with the card. But with that, I have had this for at least 25 years. So long I cannot remember. But even with that, we still have problem when we trying to complete a lot of transactions online in a non-face-to-face fashion, because we don't have a card reader, right? So everybody now has a mobile phone, but the mobile phone doesn't know how to read card, right? So maybe this is a lesson for other country who is trying to go down this establishing an ID for the country, that if you go to a card, then you have to think about the reader, right? Because 20 years ago, who would imagine that mobile phone would be such ubiquitous, right? So it's a problem. There's a missing link. How's it gonna go about that, right? And so that's why we have to build another layer, an infrastructure that glues all these participants together, that coordinate what we call the relying party, the identity provider, the authoritative source, so that they can work together to complete all the transaction without having to actually establish a centralized system that pulls information of everything together. It's a decentralized system, so that it helps just doing the coordination work. Okay, my colleagues actually would tell you all more in detail in two days from now, on Wednesday, and we have a session on Wednesday that talk about the technical aspect of it. But let me tell you just briefly that this infrastructure is actually a distributed system. We actually implemented a blockchain as a foundation for it, and in the design, there's no sensitive, no personal data that is kept in the system at all. And the data, or the privacy data, stay where they are with what we call the AS, the authoritative sources. There's the platform basically perform as just coordination, so that when you need a piece of data or need a authentication service, this is requested onto the platform, and the platform just coordinate all that without having to keep any data at all. And all the data actually pass through from the source to the relying party directly. So we don't have to worry about anyone hacking the system, because there's nothing to hack. There's nothing there. Okay. And because this is a decentralized model, there's no single point of failure. So if there's only one IDP who provide the service of authenticating, verifying every individual in the whole country of 70 million people, that would be a single point of failure. So in our model, everything is decentralized. We can have many organizations helping each other identify that person. That's why I think the World Bank wants us to tell you about our model, which is a more what they call the federated, where a lot of participants helping each other, proving their identity. Okay. And another design principle that we adhere to is that it will not have any lock-in effect. No lock-in effect for either vendor or technology. So any kind of technology, any kind of innovation, anything in the future can be applied onto the system without having to change anything at all. Okay. So for example, if you're going to complete a transaction, for example, opening a new bank account with a bank, and the bank, they have never seen that customer before, so basically they know nothing about that customer. How they're gonna open an account in a totally online fashion without having to see that customer? So basically, this platform will allow that bank to make a request. Oh, too long. Sorry. I thought this would be only 10 minutes. And just complete this.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay. So that bank would make a request, and other bank, you can, for example, 3 or 4 banks can prove the identity to that bank, and at the same time establishing a electronic consent so that relying party can pull the necessary data from every authoritative source to complete the transaction. Okay, that's it. I will.
Do you want to say one? You can finish off. Just I wanted to.
I'll just say that it helps not only in the financial sector, but we are going to apply it to other sectors such as the healthcare, so that we can provide remote healthcare services and exchanging sensitive medical information among hospitals without having to worry about data leakage and also increase the efficiency of not having to carry the papers around. Okay, I'll probably stop here and pass on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And there's going to be plenty of, please round of applause. Yeah.